I want to be as candid as I can be with you, okay? I really want to try to open my heart and say this. When I read literature that opposes our faith, or when I read other Christian literature that holds to different positions than I hold to, I'm not talking about some cult or some weird out there thing, but I really do my best to understand the objections. I really do my best to identify with the objections. I was telling a class I was teaching at our School of Ministry, at Fire School of Ministry in North Carolina, that in order to really answer an objection well, you first have to understand it. You have to be able to restate it to the person. So in other words, are you saying this? And the second thing, if you really want to answer it effectively, you have to feel the weight of it. You have to feel the weight of it. In other words, when a Muslim comes and tells you, I can't believe for this reason and that, you go, that's easy. Well, if it was so easy to him, then it wouldn't be such a life and death struggle. You have to feel the weight of it. In various areas of ministry where I deal with people, I do my best to do that. Now, here's the problem. It's painful to feel the weight of it. It's painful to try to put yourself in the other person's shoes because now you're seeing the objection from their viewpoint. It's challenging your own faith. If you want to feel the weight of it, it has to hit you in a way that challenges you, that raises questions. Now the question is, do I have honest answers? Do I have honest answers? So I have done my best through the years, with this passage in particular, which I take a lot of time on, not because it's so wonderfully powerful and plain, but because the anti-missionaries take a lot of time on it. And I'm not trying to go through every possible each line, et cetera, because some of them are so silly that they don't even merit an answer. And others I've dealt with at greater length in Volume 3. But I've really done my best to put myself in the rabbi's shoes and traditional Jewish shoes and read it and feel it. I had a rabbi tell me recently, I wrote a paper at a Christian apologetics conference explaining how there is a blind spot in Christian apologetics for Jewish apologetics. And I explained how our witness sounds to a traditional Jew. I explained it. I said, this is how the traditional Jew responds, etc. I sent it to my friend, this ultra-Orthodox rabbi that I dialogue with every week. And he called me and said, that is the best thing I've ever read that explains why Jews don't believe. He said, it's better than any anti-missionary literature I ever read. He said, I'd like to excerpt it. He said, I won't do it because it's yours. He said, I'd like to excerpt it and expand on it and put it on the internet. I said, so you know that I understand. He goes, oh yeah, I know you understand. I'd gotten a little run down last year and had to cancel out one of our Wednesday night talks, and he sent me a note wishing me a speedy healing and said, hey, we need you. So next time we talked, I said, what did you mean we need you? I said, obviously you think one day I'm going to come around to your position, then I'll be of great help in spreading some kind of spiritual revival among our people. He said, yeah, that. I said, but what else? He goes, well, you understand. He said, you're the only one I know that understands. Now, of course, there are plenty, but just in his dialogue and interaction, you understand our position, you understand where we're coming from, you can feel it. One time, I was scheduled to do a debate with my friend Shmuley Boteach. It was really before we were getting to know each other as friends, and he had a radio show. And he asked me to come on, and his co-host, a Jamaican man, it was just kind of an interesting mix, a black Jamaican and a white American rabbi doing this radio show together. And the co-host said, okay, so what's Shmuley's issue with you? Why doesn't he agree with you? Why doesn't he believe in Jesus? So I began to give all of the arguments. So Shmuley said, hey, Mike, I don't need to show up for the debate. You can take my side. You can take the position. I really do understand. I've really felt the weight of these. If I've ever said anything or presented anything in a superficial way, I've been quick to try to understand it, embrace it, take it in. To the point that things have even messed with me because I have so clearly stated the objection and felt it that now I said, okay, what is the answer? And having gone through this passage over and over in so many dialogues and so many debates and so many pages and so many tapes and back and forth, I read it again and I think, how could anyone not see Jesus? I'm just being as honest as I really think, how could anyone not recognize this is Yeshua? It has to be him. It can only be him. It can't be the nation. It can't even be the righteous remnant. It's only him. Which is why I have such great confidence that God will continue to open the hearts and minds of our people who've been turned off by what they've seen of Christianity, or much of it through the years, and have been turned off by a lack of a sufficient witness in the life and power of the Spirit, and who've been turned off by those who've had a superficial knowledge of the Scriptures, and turned off by what seemed to them to be a call to abandon their people. Point of fact, when eyes are opened on that day, and God fulfills his word in Zechariah 12, where he pours out spirit of chen v'tachnanim, grace and supplication. He beat to Eliah to share the car, and they looked to me and they pierced. You can just imagine the depth of repentance and agony of heart when they realized the one that we thought was the cause of our suffering, the one that we thought was our arch enemy. As Maimonides said, can there be a greater stumbling block than Christianity? And all he saw was the Roman Catholicism of his day. He could have seen other apostate Protestant branches and come to the same conclusion. Think of when the eyes are opened and the very people who feasted on these words, can there be a greater stumbling block than Christianity, come to realize, wait a second, we're talking about the Jew Jesus, the Messiah who brought healing. We didn't recognize it, but he was the one.